So I've cleaned the wheels and the commutator. I don't know whether you can see down there. And let's just hold that way around. And I've cleaned the pickups and adjusted them slightly. They're all a little bit of a funny angle, as they quite often are. And I've used white grease, this stuff, back in where the axles drop into the chassis there. The ends of the axles don't look too worn. And just like the gears, they seem to be in relatively nice condition. I hope I'm keeping focus on this. I just realised I'm holding everything too close to the camera. So they don't seem terribly worn. And I have given them the bearings, where the armature shaft goes through the little plastic bearings. I've given them a little drop of the light oil there. So if I try and put this plate back on, and say I've given that a clean, and that's been I've just given that a clean up there. It seems to have gone slightly funny in colour, but it was funny in colour to start with. So I think that was the way up. The one that was very, very distorted was the top left corner there, although the one at the bottom right corner seems to be incredibly distorted as well. So let's see if we can encourage that back in. There we go. So that sits really nice and flat if we look down the edges of it there. So it sits in there really well. So I always think this was a relatively poor design. So I thought that the bottom of this should be metal. It needs really a lot. Perhaps why these screws were put in so heavily before. Everything needs to be tightened up upwards like that to hold everything into place. There's a tiny little wobble still left in there. So let's see if we can get the screws back in. So I left 1, 2, 3, 4. So they should come in the way out of the holes they came out of. So if we see if we can just find the thread. Whoops, that's incredibly magnetic. So let's see if we can feel the thread on that one. We've got that. So that rolls back in and then becomes very, very stiff there. So I can't with the leverage on this one, this little screwdriver. Actually, I can get a little bit more of a turn there, but it has become very, very tight. Let's see if we can get a bit more. So that's not even nipping up to the plastic yet. So I'm going to put the others in. We'll put the one diagonally across from it. So let's see if we can find the thread on that one. We got that. We might have some focus on here, and exactly the same. So it doesn't quite, well, by the time it's gone taut or tight, it's not even nipping up there. That's still not nipping into the plastic. So we'll go with the top left corner now. See if we can get that balanced in there. Let's get the screwdriver, see if we can encourage that back onto the thread. Yeah, we've got that. And again, that's just short of the plastic where it tightens up. So I'm going to have to use the extra large screwdriver on here. So let's see if we can get that one. There we go. That feels like it's dropped in nicely. Exactly the same. Very, very tight there. So we've still got, we've got a little bit of movement on that plastic there. So I think we're going to have to use this one carefully and just see if we can nip that into place. Yeah, so that extra leverage. I don't want to go any more than that. Actually, we'll go diagonally across. Yeah, I think that's it. And in we go. Yep, that's about it. Seems to be a little bit more than I thought on that one, but it was originally sunk well down into the plastic there. You can see how that's splayed away. No, that isn't my doing, that's as it was. So I think we'll probably give it a go there. So it's tempting to keep. No, I don't want to go more than that. There we go. So I don't think we've dislodged anything. So that seems to turn. And I have got some white grease. Actually, have I forgotten to put white grease on the worm on this end? So let me see if I can get almost out of white grease in this tube. Excuse my stomach, I don't know whether that picked up on camera. It suddenly made the most horrendous sound. So I think if we give that a little bit of power now. Now I didn't take the brushes out. I didn't want to start fiddling with those. So let's see what we've got. See if we've still got that. Let's put some power on there. See if we've still got that loud scream. So that sounds more encouraging to me. Now I think that would be better when this is sitting down. The gears actually mesh a lot nicer, so it'll probably lose that rattly sound. So what I'm going to do is we'll put this onto the rolling road, onto that flat piece of track back there. I'm going to put a little bit more, see if we can get a little bit more grease in here on that one. Let me just grab the other camera, so we'll take that and then we'll pop that on the rails there. You can see the stick to the track, can't you? That's a rather impressive magnetosian. So I'm going to move that Pullman coach out of the way, and we'll just turn down the power. There we go, and we'll see if we can get the leads on. So I'm not pointing in the right direction again. We'll get that one on there, and then let's go for power. Yeah, that's definitely growly, isn't it? But then that's right onto the woodwork. So I think what we'll do is we'll grab this and we'll get it onto the railway and see how that goes on the tracks. So I didn't have the controllers over there switched on, so I had to have a break and get that switched on. So there it is. We'll pop it on the rails. I've also taken something off this line so we can I've taken that off the line, so because that was standing in the station beforehand. So that's incredibly powerful. There we go. So let's grab the controls, see if we can pick those up, whether we can get these all in the same shot. So let's give that a little bit of power. Now I can't work out myself if that's going the right way on the controller at the moment or not. So let's give that a little bit of a run. So I think not too bad, considering it probably hasn't run for quite some time. Here we go, never the smoothest of things in the first place. Not too bad with the point work. So I think what we'll do, we'll get the top back on that Actually, I've lost where I'm putting the controls, so there we go. So we'll get the top back on that, and then we'll have a look at a couple of the other items. I just realised when I was running that one of these pickups was over the wheels by accident, so I've popped that back in, so maybe that will run a tiniest bit smoother as a result. I think it was still making contact with the wheel, but definitely a better pickup with it behind the wheels, I think. I didn't notice that jumped out of there before. So I've also just whipped out the wheels out of the front bogie there, so we're going to get some focus here. Because they're very, very dirty, so I don't want to introduce more dirt onto the rail, so I've pulled those out. So they are, again, they're sleeved wheels on an axle. There's no spline side, so they both run freely, or that's the theory. So I'm going to pop those in water overnight, and you see the axle's not in too bad a condition. So most of this stuff will come off, all the sort of big crud and stuff like that. That's all going to come away overnight. I mean, they'll never be factory fresh, but it won't transfer what's on them onto my semi-clean rails. Sorry. So that's a job for overnight. It's better not to rush those things. What else? So we could put that chassis back into there. I realise this is turning into a rather strange video, but it's fiddling around with stuff like this. You know, you can get the odd bits and pieces and have a fiddle with them. They can entertain you for hours, and I know I'm not showing all of it, but there's just little bits of it, and see how time goes on. It's quite nice to have so much to have a fiddle with. So let's pop that to one side, and we'll definitely come back to that. As I say, this is bank holiday weekend, so we've got lots of time to play. So I think because this one looks in such similar condition to that one, we'll just leave this one alone, and we'll perhaps have a look at this one another day if we need to. So that body, instead of got the buffers broken away, and that one's got them cut off. So I don't know whether this is accidental or preparation for work that may have gone on. What I do have, and I had meant to dig out, is I bought a body possibly 3 years ago with no chassis, body with the securing screw, not the little brass tube, but the securing screw. You'll get focus, just because it was a good price when I saw it. So I have got a blue one of these, but I don't know whether it's the right fit. So we'll have to have a look and see if that fits. If that's the case, we'll have a fresh body on here. But if it's not, we'll just live with this one. I'll have a look in the drawer and see if we can find any buffers to see if we can plug into there. So let's just pop that to one side for the moment. Now, Hymek. Did I put power onto this? I can't remember. So let me grab the lid. Let's just put that down there. Let me grab the leads. I think with the Hymek, sorry, leaning out of shot there. I think with the Hymek, what I'm going to do is I'll dismantle that one off camera, because again, that requires all hands and focusing on what you're doing rather than trying to balance it in front of the camera at the same time. There we go. So we've got I think that will just benefit from a little bit of a light clean over. Let me lift that up a little bit. Yeah, so I'll whip the top off that next time we turn off the camera. And I think that, let's turn the power off so we don't have a short while we're not the camera, the controller. So we'll get that open in a moment, but let's have a quick look at these items. I've already taken the securing screw out of the Britannia. There's absolutely no way we're going to make this one run. Probably haven't got enough parts to put this back together. But I think the motor is in fairly good condition. The wiring loom is sort of largely away here. Let's have a look. Smoke unit has sadly, the wire has come away from the bottom, and there's a tiny bit sticking out there, and I think it will probably smoke. Let's see if I can, let's put this back in here. He says hopefully, so I don't know whether we can get one tube round there. So I'm not going to put any fluid in there. If I can see if I can get that to touch on the end, and let's see if we can get any smoke coming out of there. Now I cut away and put some smoke fluid in there, so it wasn't quite doing what I thought it would do. Whoops. So I don't know whether I can trim away the bottom of that and solder onto it or not, but that's definitely very, very hot now. And let's see if we can get one more go at that. So the smoking pipe is in there, but there's just a tiniest little bit of a metal contact. We're not getting focus here at all. I'm not getting contact either, so let's try that again. There we go. So that works quite well. Sorry about that, it's a bit all over the place, but so that's going to be too hot to touch now. So we're losing the focus. So if I just hold that the other way up, and just put something on there so we don't lose the tube or drop any smoke out, smoke fluid. So there is the tiniest little piece of metal sticking out the bottom there. I was wondering whether if I shave away some of that plastic, I might be able to delicately solder onto there, and then we'll have a working, you can see the fluid come out there. I'm going to put that over there. That is incredibly hot. So I'm just going to turn the power off that, and we'll ignore that for a few moments and let that cool down in the background there. So we'll grab a relevant screwdriver, find one here, and I think we'll just whip the motor off here, and you can see it's got, whoops, it hasn't got the correct screw. That's a shouldered screw. I suspect the screw that's holding this in is designed for holding a truck or a bogie in place. Let's have a look. Let's pop that down. But again, terrific spares. We get that into focus there, and here's the one for securing the body to the chassis. So I think I was short of one of those for the GWR tank loco, so maybe that can live in there. We've got the motor here. So again, if we look in there, the motor is sort of quite dirty. But let's spin that up. I didn't want to spin it up on here because there's all sorts of wires dangling in the wires dangling around the drive gear there. But yeah, bits and pieces, bottom plate on there. We can use the chassis perhaps if we need it, and the nice truck there. Let's have a look at the motor. Let's see if this item's cooled down. Yeah, there we go. So let's put some power back on. And let's touch the insulated side. Yeah, I think that will benefit from a clean. It's a little bit sparky, you can see it flashing away there. Yeah, so again, that's a project for another day, but I think that sounds very, very healthy. We definitely get that. That'll run smoothly. I think just getting all of that blackness off there and cleaning out the slots, that would become a much nicer thing. But again, there's not much left on that. I think those nameplates could be quite useful. It's really, it is great stuff to have when you've got a collection aging like this. It's bits and pieces, however sort of they seem insignificant at the time. Again, another securing screw. This is a slightly different type, so it's much shorter. So I zoom in on a little bit on that, you'll be able to see that in focus. But this is me missing a rod. Let's get that out of there. I remember what. Why is that like that? There we go. This is brushless. So when this first came to me, this top was off. I could see that. I would squeeze that back on. The saddle tank was made in two halves, so a very delicate thing. Sadly, there's some steps missing off there. Perhaps a project for and a break in there. A project at some point in the future. And sort of Actually, there's one of the little tabs missing off there as well. Let's see if we can get that in there. And it clips together like that. Lovely little thing, those. So yeah, again, that motor is looking incredibly dirty, and somebody's had the brushes out of that. Look, it's very, very black. So I'm thinking that might be, I don't know, it might be dead. I think if I put brushes in there, it'll possibly run. Let's see if we can just put power on it. Am I going to be able to do that? Have I got enough hands? No, I haven't got enough hands, I don't think. Let's give it a try. Let's see if the motor does turn. Yeah. So I had an idea that was going to work. So I'll whip that off there. I've just whipped the high mech apart. You've just got to ease it apart both sides almost simultaneously at this end to undo the clips, and the chassis just drops out. So it's quite a large plastic chassis. The motor sits within that sort of housing. So I've removed the spring clip, but as we saw, that runs quite nicely, and it'll run even nicer after I've given it a bit of a clean. That's the spring clip there sticking to the magnet, but all in fairly nice condition. This is a much nicer motor. It doesn't have those horrible plastic bearings that the other one, where I've put it away somewhere. So this one, these have those horrible plastic bearings on the armature, and this has a much more realistic design, designed for a bit of service. So I'll give that a clean over, and we'll get that up and running. We'll get that on the railway along with the Class 37. So let's pop that to one side. So there is that motor. We whipped it off the chassis. We'll give it a bit of a clean. I just need some clean cotton buds. The ones are mounting up all dirty, so I'm going to just give that a tiny bit of clean. I've found a pair of sort of dodgy brushes from something else. Let's give that a bit of a clean. We'll wipe that way, and then that way. Just try and drag out everything from the slots. So roll it away. It's very, very black. So let's get a bit more fluid on there. So yeah, I realise this setup here is not really ideal for doing this. It would be much better if you just had the one item out at a time, but this is just purely a little bit of fun, a little bit of a look over these items, dismantle a few things, have a look at the interiors of a couple of things, and see what's what really. So now let's see how we're doing in there. So now I'll see if I embarrass myself putting the brushes in. Let's get one side in. Sorry, out of focus. Had to lift that up to my eye line to have a quick look at that. And then there's never enough hands to do this. Can't even pick the other one up. So let's see if we can get it. Sometimes they just don't go through the hole. Amazing how the other one went in so nicely, and then there we go, we've got it. So they sit on the commutator there. Magnet doesn't seem too bad, although it's not sitting directly up against the back plate, but it is, it's supporting the weight of the motor. Whether it would with the chassis, yeah, I think that would pull it up with that chassis on it. But the magnet is moving around in there, and it feels like you can feel it click over. So make sure we haven't got a connection there where we don't want one. We'll just turn on the power supply again. Get some insulated side. See if we can see the motor that way around. Whoops, it's shorting out. Let's just give that a tiny drop of oil in there. Just a little drop on the back of the bearing. These all look incredibly dry. It sounds quite nice, doesn't it? That's just soaking that up there. Let's give that a go now. Get that at an angle where we can see it. That's I think that would be quite a nice motor. It doesn't half look black though. I think this has been very, very hot at some point. Is it hot? No, it's not. I mean, that's not run, but look at those windings. They definitely look like they've been a bit warm. So yeah, so possibly another good motor there. So some bits on here. We've got a collection plate down there. Definitely seen some better days. It's very, very curly connection wipers, and chassis not too bad. Missing a couple of couplings. I think we'll get this high mech sorted out, and we'll jump back to the rails with the Class 37. We'll stop messing around on the bench and see if we can finish off with a little bit of a run. So we'll just have a quick run round with this 00 model. No hope of keeping the video short. As you've seen, I've split it into two. I figured that might be the best way to go with this one. It just sort of grew as time went on. So we're Good Friday now. Gorgeous day, but it's all gone sort of dark and rainy now. Let's get that under the elevated section there. I haven't got the handheld plugged in this, so I'm nervously holding on to the controls here without following it. So let's just bring that to a gentle stop. There we go. So we can see we've got the blue diesel locomotive, Class 37, sitting there. We'll have a run with that in a moment. But I thought we'd just have a swift look at that Pullman coach that we did a little bit of work on. So we've got it on the rails there. Runs quite smooth. So I've just taken off this utility van there. Otherwise the rake's going to be a little bit long for the railway, and I realise we're Mark II to Mark III. That was some of my thinking, is to make that into a converter. The converters I've made have been quite successful. That's one there. I've got a 3 on one end and a 2 on the other. Not entirely necessary, but it does sort of make it a little bit smoother. Right, let's get some controls here and get this Britannia back and pick those up, and we'll just give that a bit of a run. See if we can hook up with that lot. We got that, so we've got a set of Pullmans on there, and we've got a blood and custard brake on the end. So we'll give that a little power. So we'll keep an eye out for uncoupling. Always a possibility with the Mark II couplings. And you can see I've got the goods train there, and we've got the high mech just ready to go. I'm just going to switch a point over here, and then we can rotate those two trains around. Let's make that one go straight, and we'll come back around here. It's the same set of goods wagons we've had on there for a little while. Let's just run that Britannia just one circuit of the inner line here. See, arm's length, the rather beaten up and sort of renovated coach will do the trick, really. So I'll just need to look out for another bogie as a donor to make that up for either a 00 or a Mark II or a Mark III, a number of variations. I think if we can bring that to a stop in there, and we can throw the points on the loop. Are we all in? Just a tiny bit further forward there. It's the tail end which is worrying me a little bit. Wonder whether we've got just, if I take the tension out of the couplings, there we go. We've got room to get through there now. So we'll just switch this point, and then we should be able to get the high mech. So I think originally these came along as a quite a gorgeous green colour, green livery, sorry, and then they changed. I think there's a electric blue and a rail blue possibly, and I'm sort of fairly sure this one's a rail blue because of it's got the extra pickup. It's a later 70s item, not late 70s, sorry, an early 70s with the additional pickup. So that's a fairly nice thing, isn't it? So let's just give that a little bit of backwards action there. Tiny hiccup on the point there. And then we'll come back the other way. So we'll just bring that back around there. Not doing too bad with the points. I think we've got a lot of Mark II couplings in this lot as well. So I've got a converter, one of my homemade converters. The sort of light blue closed van there has got a Mark II on the one end. Sorry, yeah, a Mark III, the one I was pointing at, and a Mark II there, with all the rest of those earlier type nice bendy GWR closed van there. A couple of drop-sided wagons, horse box, and another brake van. So, as we whizzed round before, I don't know whether you saw it, we've got, I mentioned I'd bought quite some time ago now, just because it was the correct sort of price. So it didn't seem like terribly much at the time. I bought that. Now I think that is the same fitment. I had a quick look over it. So what we'll do, we'll get this diesel locomotive, and the securing screw though is interesting because I think that's a different type of securing screw. So we'll have a quick look at that. We won't get too bogged down in it. So if I grab the other controls, hang on a second. I tried to put everything. My mind doesn't work like this, being tidy. It's you make the best efforts. But despite that, you know, it just gets hectic. There we go. Oops. So I've got some Mark II coaches there. I thought would be sort of era, the correct sort of era, and they do have the lights in. So I don't know whether they'll show up in this light or not. Just seeing a little bit of a flicker there. So I thought that looked quite smart like that. Slight hesitation, no extra pickup on this one. Let's wind that up a bit more and see if we can get those coaches to lighten a little bit. Express speed. So let me get that to an area where I can pull the locomotive off. Actually, I might pull the odd coach off. That's not an area. The area I was thinking of is where that tunnel is. I'm going to go somewhere else. There we go. let me grab some notes here. So the Mark II coaches, we've got the brake there, it's R723, 69 to 83. I don't think they had lights in all of that period. Let's just swing around here. I should have brought that with me. Let's see if we can, we'll just take the one off and have a look at it. We'll have a look at the pickup arrangement underneath. These are an unboxed set. I've converted these to LEDs. This particular set, I think they work quite well when we had the 01 out to play with. You can see that very crude arrangement on the bottom. So we've got a metal wheel on one side, plastic on the other, so plastic on that side, metal on that side on that bogie, and then we've got the opposite on the other side. So let's just see if I can pop that back on. There we go. And let me get the locomotive off here now. And then we'll have yet another cut from the action. Let's get that off there. Let's get the power on now and we'll see those. There we go. So when it's not sharing its power, well, I can go all the way up on the controls here and give it the full strength. But when I turn it off, let's keep an eye on those coaches, turn it off. So there is a capacitor in there, they don't go out instantaneously. So what you don't get is the flicker over the point work, sorry, so on in the other direction, and then off again. And then they die off quite slowly. Obviously on the 01 they stayed on continually. Let's just have a quick glance at this and I'll see if the body will swap over. So I think that's going to be the same fitment. The plug, it's not plugged at that end. Which end is it? Slightly different colours. I don't know whether that's a rail blue and I can never remember the name of the other blue now. I think that might be just down to fade or age. This one looks a little more yellowed than this one. So I think they'll interchange quite happily. They look to be identical unless I've completely missed something. So this is my spare which I had packed away, and this is the one with the broken off bits. It is definitely lighter in colour, this one, even on the inside. This one is a great deal darker. So I'll go ahead and I'll swap that over. Securing screw is interesting though. That is the securing screw which came from the model which we've just cleaned up, and that's the one that was in the polythene bag with the shell that I bought. It looks to have a great big end on it there, and it sits proud. I've just tried it in here and it sits too far proud of that hole there, so I don't know whether that's just a screw from something else that the seller just included with it. Oh, and I forgot to show, I'd cleaned up those wheels, so there they are. So we've got those wheels sort of all nice and clean and free moving. All back together. See, that other screw would have sat just slightly proud of that hole. It is recessed, but I don't think that other screw would go all the way in there. So we've got that all working nicely. I forgot to mention there's a little bit that's broken off the top of this bogie, which limits which would limit the turn. So it would just drop into that slot. That seems to be broken. I don't think that's going to affect the overall operation of this. So there's the previous body with the broken parts on it. We'll find out what that securing screw's for, or whether it is just supposed to sit proud of the hole, or whether it's for a slightly later chassis perhaps. So let me grab this and we'll get this back on the rails. So I've just pushed those Mark IIs back into the station a little, so I can try and re-rail this on some straight rail rather than the curve where we took it off. Let's give that a little bit of a There we go, we've got that one on. And we've got that one on there. So let's give that some power. Let's see if that runs. That coupling hook seems to be up in the air there. There we have it. So let's give that some power. And see if we can just give this the once around. Get a couple of interesting shots of it. Lovely looking things. We should get the green variant of this out, I think, at some point. So those coaches are not really lighting up with that sort of power. So in terms of what I got on there, that's about that much. That's whizzing off in the background. I'm going to catch up with it this way around because I'll never get it the other way around. Yeah, we've got some lights on now. Express service. I think some of these coaches had intercity on their sides at some point. So that's definitely lighting up now. But I think that is probably it. Let's see if we can just get the other train underway. Actually, I've got to turn that down. I can't leave that running that quickly and not look at it. It's just asking for trouble. There we go. That's better. It'll be only a matter of time before one of those wheels decides to climb the rails or something at that speed. So let's get the high mech running as well. But that's it this time. So thanks again for watching.